Hello, guys. It's Len. This is Len's STEM and Friends podcast, and I'm here with Erica, also known by _Rica on Instagram. If you want to introduce yourself a bit.
Hi, everyone listening. My name is Erika Alcocer. I am currently residing in San Antonio, Texas, also known as like the land of Paella people, and home of the Yanawana River. And I am a LGBTQ2IA+ youth facilitator. I've worked with youth, and I'm also a student at UTSA here, double majoring in Spanish Mexican Studies with a minor in sex, gender, and women's studies. I'm a jewelry designer, DJ, event producer, and just all over queer, non-binary, femme human being living in this world.
No, yes. You do so much, and I'm so glad that I found you and your account and everything. So what got you into, or what made you want to be specifically a youth like facilitator and want to get into? Because I know for LGBT, like the community, you're a part of it, correct? So what made you specifically want to go and deal with and help with the youth?
So something in my studies that always really inspired me was looking towards youth revolutionary groups, right? Like the Young Lords, looking at youth working in Mexico City, and other parts of Latin America, and it shows how much power there is in youth. And as a millennial, I guess that's what I would call myself. I'm 30, and I just kind of see our generation really trying, but I don't know how much we're mainly accomplishing. And I have a lot of faith in our youth with all the technology, right? With everything that they have. And so I am have a good connection with working with youth, always have, and feel that that is a great place to start to plant those little seeds, the little semillas, and see where that will take them. If we can give them these radical revolutionary ideas of solidarity and community, where will that take us?
Yep, 100% agree. What is probably, or what's one of the best moments you've had having that job?
So my favorite thing about working with youth is making relationships, and that always means having tension, having battles, right? If you're working with teens, anyone out there who's working with teens is they're going to challenge your authority. And that is what we want them to do, right? I want them to say hey, tell adults, listen to us. And this is, we need to listen to the youth ultimately, and I think that I've really enjoyed those moments of where we've had to build and repair relationships. And it just shows how much maturity there is and how much room there is to grow. I mean, it really does something for you as an adult when you're working with the youth to sit your ego down, to cut yourself down and say, you know what, actually, I don't know everything, and I am always here to learn, and I'm especially here to listen to youth. It does a radical transformation within yourself.
100%. I agree, and I think it's something very I don't know if the word would be maybe pure, I guess, but having those conversations with younger people and also being able to be okay, no, you're right, I guess, that is correct, and also being able to say I was wrong, I'm sorry for that, and just having that communication is everything.
Adults need to do it too, adults. It's so pure.
So I did want to ask you, what are your pronouns?
Oh, I am pronoun indifferent, which just basically means I like all pronouns, not in any specific order. People usually default to she because I'm very feminine presenting, which I kind of just am fine. If you can't see me outside that space, that's kind of not, within your ability to just see how gender lives on a spectrum. So I prefer she, they, he, all of them, to me, I think are really beautiful. So if you want to pick one, play with them, that's cool with me.
No, I love that. And I don't think I've heard the pronoun indifferent before, but I love that because that's exactly how I feel as well. Where I don't really mind. It's whatever to me.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I really don't like is when someone's like specifically like calling me ma'am or like putting me in this like woman role, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
like, do you see me outside of that? Because like I view myself encompassing more than that.
Mhm.
So yeah, that happened like 8 years ago, where I was inspired to make jewelry. I'm a real creative person, but I think I got kind of lost in that. I was like looking for a job, looking for, all of those things that socially construct like what makes you an adult. And I found friends that were doing it, and we decided to create like some sort of, like, to me, Desert Flower Designers is a co-op, right? It's often just me, right? But it always has that space that invites other people, other makers, because I worked on that like 8 years ago and built a platform and built connections to vendors and markets and other things, and was like creating markets with other folks. And I often had a lot of people come to me like, hey, I'm making jewelry, but like I don't have a name, I don't have an Instagram following, and I'm like, put yourself on my table, let's go. Call yourself
Love
part
that.
maker of Desert Flower. Yeah, so that's how that came along. And I still do make these really awesome ojo handlets sold at Chiquita Brujitas Bruja Fest in New York and Brooklyn, and have sent it out in LA, and still pop up every once in a while and use it as a source. I mean, I think we all have to rely on that like other source, of our creative or whatever we do.
Yep. No, I agree. And I 100% love that you make it very community based and just you're very here for other people. And I love and appreciate that so much because we need more.
Yeah, thanks.
What got you into the Hamlets and like
The design,
yeah.
so that came from working with someone who was like really similarly making something like that. And I did my research, like my art history research, the academic in me. And I traced it back to like a lot of cultures will adorn the top of the hand, right? Whether it's like with chain, jewelry, but like something that really connects to my culture is back in the day, it's like I'll see it on pages like rucas and veterans, but the like mujeres would wear these black bracelets, and they would wrap them like in really intricate, awesome ways through their middle finger and then attach it to their wrist. And I saw that, and the ojo translates into like almost every culture. Like you can see an eye everywhere, but in like Latino Mexicano culture, Latinx, it's often a symbol that wards off like evil eye, just things that, aren't really coming to you in a really healthy, positive way. And I really like putting that in the middle of my hand because like I use my hands a lot to talk when I'm presenting or just in general, right? You're like always doing something with your hands, and it has really helped me with my anxiety, to kind of make sure I'm feeling, and like as a brujex, self-identifying like person, I'm just like, this is really creating like a barrier for me to anything that's either intentional or not intentional. I'm just gonna like, bye.
No, I love that. And when did you get into brujeria and stuff?
Well, I would like to think that my mom is like one of the strongest witches I've ever met, and I've always felt that she was like a witch, but it's often like seen as a negative thing, right? Like, oh, we have our family members are like, you're such a witch. Like, that was witchy. And so it didn't happen until I like read about it, right? Like I was doing readings and understanding like syncretismo and how it comes from, indigenous practices that were completely conquista and colonized. And I really found it liberating, right? To like find my magic and my power and use it to protect and to heal, and to, put a person in a jar whenever I need to, right? If it comes to that, I'm like, okay, we're going there. But studying brujeria, curanderismo for me is something that has really revitalized and been a huge part of self-care for me.
That's beautiful. I love that. It's something that piques my interest as well, and something that like I'm learning about. I think it's very interesting people looking in on it and thinking that it's all negative and bad when like there's so much good that you can do with it, and it can be truly so healing for some people and just like eye opening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the online witch community, like it's an interesting community to be part of because there are so many boundaries, and like, yeah, like it gets messy really quickly. But like me, I've really found like myself to connect myself with my, ancestors, all of them, right? Like as being a person whose lineage extends to like Spaniards, and like I'm like
Yeah.
I want to make these amends with all these parts of myself so that I am either like cutting away generational trauma, and then also being like a Santa Muerte practitioner like has been really interesting in the fact that like a lot of people are like, oh, like I would get even worse, like
Hey,
even worse like looks now.
What is it?
Santa Muerte.
I've never
She
heard of
is oh my gosh, she's the holy saint of death. I mean, again, originates from that, like an indigenous concept of a deity and a goddess, and is like really stigmatized because, the narcos in Mexico really utilize her, and because she's a saint that like comes to all people, like queer folks, people who don't have a whole lot to offer, and she just comes to anyone. And so I was practicing in Mexico, and the stigma is real. And so I think that when you're doing any sort of practice like that, it's really good to be honest, like you're using it to heal and protect. And yes, other people do use anything, like anything can be used for like a negative purpose or a harmful purpose. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's something in your link about video visuals, and I absolutely love it. It is so beautiful. Are you planning on doing more? If you guys want to see the videos that I'm talking about, there's 2, and they're in her link tree, so go check them out because they're amazing.
Thank you. I haven't like visually produced anything in a hot minute, but I worked for a production company a little bit. Shout out Arts and Labor in Austin. I took a lot from that, like just seeing how you can visually create something. And I think that there do need to be more Black, Indigenous, and people of color, queer storytellers, right, that have their stories visually told. And I tried, at that point in time to do something, and I look back on it now and I'm like, oh, a little problematic, but still like speaks to where I was then, and it's still beautiful visually. And I would love to like be part of anything, whether it's like design or throwing my jewelry in a video. So yeah, I mean, maybe one day.
Okay. And you also have, I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but you have another in your bio. It starts with the I. How do you pronounce it?
Indigenous, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really awesome, like, I guess we're working towards being a collective of some fierce femme women that are looking towards like reclaiming that part of their indigenous like ancestry. The mujeres that I work with, they're amazing and are part of the Kikapuli, I believe, here in San Antonio. And they're singers and MCs, and I'm the DJ for them. So that's what we do here. Yeah, they're really awesome. It's a project in motion, so we're always like, we're at start and stop, but we have some stuff available on Instagram.
Definitely go check that out. I'm definitely linking everything in the description for everyone to check out. What made you get into specifically like community, like activism, and just wanting to work with everyone and like helping people? Because you help a lot of people.
I will say that it was a process of learning things, right? Of learning, you know, internalized isms that I was sticking to for a really long time. I had a partner, a former partner, who was really like an awesome leftist, and he kind of like showed me the way, and it was in a moment where like Black Lives Matter was uprising, everything was happening in Ferguson. I was going back to school and I had access to all of this knowledge, and it aligned with my studies, and it just like broke open to me. And I am a person, Aquarius, who is like very much a mindset of like, I'm going to do this. I need to do something right. And in like the words of the great Angela Davis, like, I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. Like, I'm changing the things I no longer am accepting. And it really felt like that's what I need to do. I need to do something in some whatever way, shape, fashion, whether that's just like posting on my Instagram, linking people to, you know, other activists that are doing work, and just striving towards queer, Black, Indigenous liberation and dismantling gender binary, destroying white supremacy, and like really taking apart these intricate and interlocked systems of oppression that people often don't pay attention to. And working with youth is one of them. Doing art is one of them. You know, lifting up those voices of like undocumented folks and keeping in touch with what's going on globally. Like it all just like one thing, right? If you can try and get it to work in one way, right? Because if you're working towards LGBTQ2IA rights, like you're inherently working for like environmental and global and like anti-capitalist, right? So hopefully, hopefully. So it kind of to me just made me feel like I always want to be working towards that, and always want to be held accountable for what I'm doing, right? And what spaces I'm working with. And luckily here in San Antonio, there's a lot of people doing that work, and doing work on themselves at the same time. And so I was able to make myself home here and, you know, find a way to start doing that. And a way that I do that here in my community is the training that I do, which is like it's like a gender study sexuality, but also is intersectional. Shout out Kimberly Crenshaw for that framework to bring it all together, right?
I do want to touch on two more things, which is, let's first talk about being in Texas, because there is it is such a stigma, especially for LGBT people of color, like living out there. There's such a stigma of like negativity and like toxic. So like hearing you and what you do for your community, like what made you like stay in Texas, pick Texas, like why?
Yeah, well, so I'm a Tejanex. Like, I'm from here. I'm a legit, like, all my family, except for the other half of my family, is in Cali. So, and I go between the two because, like, I love going to California, right? Like, California is awesome. And it really is a much different pace and scene than Texas. But I don't know. I lived in Austin for a really long time, and it's like the neoliberalist like place you could possibly exist in, where everyone just like goes to brunch and is like, oh my God, I donated money to Planned Parenthood and therefore I am an activist. So it was really frustrating and made me seek out like community. And I found community in like Dallas Fort Worth area. I found community in El Paso, and you know, people doing work in Houston. Oh my gosh, in Houston, you know, that was like a huge inspiration for me to go out there and see people doing work. And I was like, I want to go home. You know, I want to go back to San Antonio. I want to go to school, finish my undergrad. And I came back here, and like I said, I found that community that was doing work. I found people that were doing things that really interest me. And I think we're really powerful here in Texas, and it's because we're close to the border, right? And it's because we try to, like, y'all is actually inclusive when we're talking, you know. I think it's really interesting how, you know, with all the history of Texas, you know, being one of like the last states to like end segregation, and like slavery, it was like this place has such a violent history, that I think that therein that is also a lot of power to like take over, and I hope to see that happen. Which is why I stay here. I don't think this will be my home forever. I do have aspirations to like get to Latin America at some point, because as you know, as we can see, if anyone watching right now, like what's happening in Chile, out there in Colombia, like they are revolting. Like that's where like I'm like, yes, tell me when we take to the streets, like I'm ready.
Right.
But like I said, I take a lot of inspiration from Latin America to revolt.
Yeah, no, that's so beautiful. And I think that also just goes to show that there's community literally everywhere. You just have to look for your people and for that common, like, yeah, kind of just look for your people, because they're around, and so long as you're doing the work you need to and want to be doing, they'll come.
That's right. True
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So I think that's going to be all of my questions for today. Thank you so much for doing this. Everyone, make sure you check down all the links that I'm going to be putting in the description. Go support her. Amazing human being. Truly. Thank you so much for doing this interview again.
Of course.
If you want to shout yourself out everywhere that they can find you and everything real quick, feel free. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to talk about what it is that I'm doing, you know, here in community in San Antonio, Texas, Tejas. And my name on Instagram is @que, that's QUE _rica, that's 3 R's, ICA. And that's where you can find me living and posting on the gram.
I also wanted to tell you, I just love that name too, because like that's a good name. But yeah, no, thank you again. Keep up the amazing work. I can't wait to talk to you again. And yeah, thank you so much everyone for listening.